ships are due for demolition. I have tried everything to crush the will of its people, but always that insufferable Aladdin arrives to restore their faith. But I swear I will triumph. The problem with you evil element is that you're always obsessing. Chaos. Crush this, destroy that, kill her, leave the element. I, for one, will take your routines.
Chaos is the god of the Disney multiverse. Alright, I assume I'll have to catch you up on some things. Firstly, where have I been? I know I've been absent from posting theories for a while, and I do apologize. I've been absent in the theory world for about 52 days. I suppose my new laptop just gave me more opportunities to try new things, like the Danganronpa LT series I enjoy making and the whole Ranking Masked Singer contestant videos, which both do not include my voice, so it's been a second since you all heard my voice. And there's something else I'll have to catch you all up on, the statement I made at the beginning of the video. Firstly, who is Chaos? Chaos is a character from the Aladdin animated series who appears in a single episode called When Chaos Comes Calling. But he leaves a massive impression. He's a magical half-cat, half-bird. He has magic and has reality-bending abilities. Genie also comments that he has more power in his whiskers than a palace full of genies. Also, when Mirage, a main villain on the show, is angry at his sudden appearance, he does this.
Ooh, that's a nasty perspiration problem you have there.
How dare you come in here?
Careful, kitten. I might think you don't want me here.
I am sorry, Lord Chaos.
So he obviously has a violent side, and this also pops up when being ordered by Jasmine. He doesn't like being ordered by people who are beneath him, and we see what genies can do in this world, so the fact that his power is basically like that basically confirms he's a god of this whole Disney multiverse. What is the Disney multiverse? Well, it is almost as it sounds. It is a multitude of universes that are separated yet connected, and Chaos governs them all. And this isn't just Walt Disney Animation and Pixar. No. It's more complex than that. It expands to everything under the Disney umbrella, like Marvel, Star Wars, Kingdom Hearts, their shows, literally everything. And Ralph Breaks the Internet literally confirms everything, especially with the ohmydisney.com segment. But how exactly does this work? Is every Disney movie separate, or are some in the same universe? I believe the latter to be true because Hercules and Aladdin take place in the same universe, all because of a single crossover episode where Hades and Jafar work together to take down Aladdin and Hercules. Yes, this is real. And let's not forget about Tangled and Frozen basically being in the same world, not just thanks to the Easter egg in Frozen, but based on just basic similarities between the films. And here's a wildcard example: Raya and the Last Dragon and Mulan. Hear me out. In Kingdom Hearts 2, which exists as its own parallel universe to the whole Disney multiverse, but anyways, in Kingdom Hearts 2, in the Mulan world, they state that dragons give power to their world and are the source of many blessings to humanity and nature, which sounds similar to how dragons are portrayed in Raya and the Last Dragon. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's get to the actual stuff beyond the setup. Firstly, take a look at Chaos. He literally looks like Cheshire Cat. If you remember, 3 months ago, I theorized that the Cheshire Cat is the god of Wonderland. There is so much evidence pointing to this, and I highly recommend you watch that before watching this video. In fact, watch every video in the Disney Multiverse playlist, which also include the Lady and the Tramp 2 theory and the Cinderella quadruple timeline theory. But back to the Cheshire Cat. It makes sense that the two are similar, because Chaos was inspired by him, which also helps to prove the fact that Chaos is the god of the Disney Multiverse. But there's something I recently discovered. Something that not only made me make this theory to begin with, but it's so much more than that. Oh no. It was so mind-shattering, it completely changed the game with a theory. But more on that in a second. But without further ado, here's the clip.
You can't make me fight. Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. I just set things in motion and watch the result.
This changed the game in so many ways. Firstly, this also helps to prove how Chaos is the god of this multiverse. He merely watches like many gods across several mythologies. But that line, I just set things in motion and watch the results. Maybe it's also the way he says it, and the fact he stared at us when he said it. It changed everything. For context, I've made several theories on Chaos, and this single line contradicts them all. I theorized that Chaos was fighting for a cause and used his power to help them afar, but this line tells me that this cannot be the case. Or at the very least, he's not specifically fighting for a cause. Although he is doing things to set things in motion, but it's not to fight for what he believes in, it's to simply observe the results for entertainment, which makes things rather difficult. So with this theory, I've decided to start anew, to essentially reboot the Disney Multiverse theory. This way, the theory will make a lot more sense. But there is one thing that still rings true. If Chaos is the god of the Disney Multiverse, and therefore above lesser gods like the Greek gods and Hercules, he is undoubtedly Kronos, the Greek personification of time. Firstly, before I explain the history of Kronos, I need to clarify something else. Kronos is different from Kronos. Kronos is Zeus' father, and Kronos is the personification of time. Anyways, with Kronos, he gave birth to some children and an egg. The egg hatched into fangs, or however you pronounce that, who basically created the cosmos. Which means Kronos was around before the cosmos and anything existed. Which would also apply to Chaos, which does make sense. And it doesn't just make sense for Chaos to be Kronos at a logical standpoint, but also a design standpoint. Both have beards and are winged. If Chaos had a scythe, wouldn't Disney just be hammering in this fact? And with this fact, if he existed before anything else did, and he created everything, and in other words, animated everything and brought it to life, he represents the animators. It's literally existing before the main product exists and brings it to life. But with that out of the way, there is something I've recently discovered. And if you can believe it, it was when I recently rewatched Lady and the Tramp. Something I noticed was that in almost every important scene, a bird is present. Like for example when Darling is tending to her baby, which made me realize birds seem critical in almost every Disney movie. Firstly, there's the Disney princess stereotype of the princesses singing to the birds. But let's go through some movie examples. In Snow White, she doesn't just sing to the birds, but they try to save Snow White from the evil queen during the part where she tries giving her the poison apple. In Pinocchio, a dove is sent to deliver the message to Pinocchio that Geppetto was eaten by Monstro. In Dumbo, the crows are the ones to give Dumbo the feather to fly, and it's important to the plot anyways. The Rescuers Down Under, its entire plot revolves around saving a rare bird. Let's not forget Donald Duck. But these are just a couple of examples. But do you want to know who seems equally important? Cats. There's the movie The Aristocats, Cheshire Cat and Alice in Wonderland. The Lion King is self-explanatory. There's Shere Khan in The Jungle Book, Lucifer from Cinderella, and more examples too. And hell, there's even Pete, who's a cat. And there's an explanation for this. It's because Chaos is half cat, half bird. And then there's that line again. If we include that, I think we can work together a story. Now let me explain how these all connect. Chaos existed before anything existed and was bored. Therefore, he created the universe, just to see what would happen. Then he was bored again with this, so he decided to create two clones of himself, which would both possess two halves of himself, the first half being his bird self, and the other half being his cat self, creating a powerful cat god and a powerful bird god. The cat god would possess Chaos's more chaotic elements and love for the unpredictable, and the bird god possesses Chaos's more violent side and need to be not controlled by anyone else who's lower than him. And Chaos had the two gods clash, much like he did with Aladdin and his clone. But the fight ended with no real victor, as the two gods shattered one another, creating fragments of themselves spreading across the multiverse. Those fragments would become whole people, who need to come together again to ultimately revive their respective gods, with the biggest fragment for the cat god being none other than the Cheshire Cat. This makes sense for Chaos to do. Like he says, he's just simply sets things in motion to observe the results. What did he do to set in motion? He probably offered the victor control of the multiverse, to give them a motive to fight. And the two probably fought so hard because of the conflicting views. In short, this is something I'll go more in depth with my future wish theory, which I'll talk about more later. But the point is, the big conflict of this whole story is control versus freedom. This cat god represents freedom, if Cheshire Cat has anything to go off of, and this bird god must represent control, trying to keep control over everything under the facade of keeping everyone safe. And this is the conflict of almost every Disney film. And this is the bigger story. A battle between two fractured gods rebuilding themselves. If the bird wins, then it'll be overly controlling and do everything at their disposal to destroy any threats. And if the cat wins, there will be more freedom. And then this makes more sense once you remember that the Cheshire Cat is the most whole fragment of the cat god, and this also goes to explain the Cinderella quadruple timeline theory. I theorize that there are 4 timelines in the Cinderella franchise, but the one thing I could never figure out was why. Why have these 4 timelines? How did it happen? It was all chaos. He caused 4 timelines to happen because he wanted to see what would happen, how different things would be if each timeline had the slightest difference. And the infamous yet confusing Easter eggs across any Disney film, yep, it was all chaos. Actually, with the Easter eggs, we can use them to pinpoint what films don't take place in what universes. Because, let's use Treasure Planet as an example. There's a Stitch plushie in the background. It wouldn't make any sense if Lilo and Stitch and Treasure Planet took place in the same universe, Because why is there merchandise of specifically that person? Simple. It's merchandise from the film Lilo and Stitch, not the person. Which means any Disney movie that doesn't take place in another film exists as simple fictional media in that universe. If that makes any sense. Also, back to the Wish theory I mentioned, I realized a hidden truth within the movie Wish. But there are 2 theories I need to make before we get to that, otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. There's the first theory being a Winnie the Pooh theory, which is surprisingly complex. And I had a script, but there's been a shocking development with that theory, all because of a single film I hadn't watched up till that point. But more on that whenever I actually get to posting that theory. So I'd probably have to rewrite that script sometime. And then there's a theory on Home on the Range, more specifically on 2 characters, Lucky Jack and Alameda Slim. But there's something more important to get to. Ladies and gentlemen, I found them. Ever since I came up with this theory, I have been searching for them. And they've been found. The most whole fragment of the bird god, equal to the Cheshire Cat. For this theory, I've only had to rewatch a single movie. Maybe it was fate? Who knows? Regardless, this was the movie that made it all click. And not only was this question answered, but even more. That movie being Fantasia 2000. When watching and thinking about this movie, I realized how much theory potential there is in this movie. But there was one segment in this movie that was the most shocking of all. The Firebird Suite. The plot of this segment is that there's the Spring Sprite, who's spreading life across the forest. But there's one single area that's unable to be affected by the Spring Sprite, a volcano. The Spring Sprite investigates the volcano and accidentally awakens this, the Firebird. The Firebird proceeds to then destroy the land. With the help of an elk, the Spring Sprite is revived and brings the forest back to life. This is the most whole fragment of this bird god, the Firebird. But how can I possibly know this? Oh, no. Well, it's simple, really. When I gave the description of the fly, I lied. The Firebird wasn't only destroying the forest. No. It was also hunting down the Spring Sprite. It's not just destroying the forest. It doesn't stop until the Spring Sprite is defeated. This is the whole theory. The bird god who stops at nothing to destroy the magical creature who's defying the order of life. The Firebird is the most whole fragment of this bird god. But this wasn't all I discovered in Fantasia 2000. There's also the Pomp and Circumstance segment, aka the Noah's Ark segment with Donald Duck. Anyways, with the Disney Multiverse, there are 2 endings, I believe. Both do start with the cat and bird gods fully reviving themselves. Then they decide to settle everything, and the outcome of the fight depends on the timeline. If the bird god wins, we get the Pomp and Circumstance segment, where the bird god purges the unholy world in a flood, as the selected survivors and 2 of each animal get onto the Ark. And Donald and Daisy were selected to go onto the Ark because they were anthro birds. And only those 2 are selected because it matches the pattern of the Noah's Ark, where only 2 of each animal go into the Ark, as they represent anthro birds. But is there even evidence for this? Evidence for the fact that this was to purge all magic? Well, it's rather simple. Because it's because they outright confirm it with this. How can it be any more clear? These are mythical creatures, laughing at everyone as they get onto the ark, because they think they'll be saved when they've already lost. Then they simply die, as the bird god reigns supreme, as it's all up to Chaos on what to do next. Then films like Zootopia, Robin Hood, and Chicken Little take place at the end of the Cat the God's victory timeline. The timeline can go either Robin Hood, Chicken Little, then Zootopia, or Zootopia, Chicken Little, and Robin Hood. Either way, they both add up and you can make an argument for both. Honestly, a timeline would be good to figure out, but this should be the end of the theory. But why can't I seem to shake the feeling that something's off? Do any of you feel it? I'm sure you can. After all, there should be plenty more minutes in this video. But what is there to realize? Oh, I realized that rebooting this whole theory was the best option. Not just because of Chaos, but for another reason entirely. But first, let's go over the Disney classic, Hercules. In Hercules, it opens with the song The Gospel Truth, where they tell the backstory of the Titans. They were destructive and spread misery and, well, destruction everywhere. But why? Is it just in their blood? Well, that is the case. Because the Titans are more bird fragments. The reason they are destroying the land is because of the mythical creatures that do exist in the mortal world. But the single realization comes with another one. I've been wrong about the Greek gods this whole time. For context, in my old Disney Multiverse theory, the Greek gods were the bad guys. They were trying to rid the world of magic in order to keep control and prevent a rebellion and uprising against them. The rivals against Cheshire Cats. But I've been wrong. Something did seem off. In reality, they were just trying to keep the balance and peace, protecting the earth from harm. But this realization, something seems off. If they are the good guys, who fractured the world of Wish into the Disney multiverse we see today? Who sank Atlantis? Who's behind everything? It's simple. It's Chaos. He did it for one reason. To watch the results. For absolute entertainment. And the Atlanteans blamed it on the gods who were actually innocent. Chaos simply fractured the world of Wish because he wanted to see one universe become an entire multiverse, to see what would happen. It's all been him. He's also likely responsible for Whisker Haven, the House of Mouse, and the magical moon and its abilities to enhance magic. And even the genies could have been created by Chaos to see what people similar to him would be like if they were bound to certain rules, unlike Chaos. Or whatever reason. I mean, look at Genie and Chaos. The similarities are too big to ignore. And I originally thought the gods were the bad guys because they seemed to fit best, theme-wise and logic-wise. But there is more evidence to suggest our innocence. Let's not forget that Greek gods aren't the only ones. There's Tefiti from Moana and the Northern Lights from Brother Bear, who are innocent. It's just that the magic oppression and obsession with control stems from the bird fragments. I will also say this, I do think each universe has their own gods, and they all come together as a pantheon. They split up to govern the multiple universes. I mean, after all, this does explain this multiple mythologies and cultures in each universe. And this is similar to what is shown in Thor: Love and Thunder. That film doesn't just showcase a pantheon of gods similar to what I described with the Disney multiverse, but also showcases the gods who are jerks and not good guys do exist. So there could be a couple bad gods in the batch who would also likely support the whole like overly controlling and magic oppressing movement stemming from the bird fragments. And Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse literally is about an overly controlling cult who is claiming to protect the multiverse, which sounds very similar to the bird fragments. This is all I've realized for now. But there's still one more thing to discuss. A priority list. Everyone, I need your help. Submit any evidence you find, and this priority list will help show you what is most important to find evidence for, and what's not as important. So without further ado, here it is. This is the top priority tier. Prioritize these films at all cost. These films being Alice in Wonderland, Aladdin, Hercules, Wish, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and the 2000 Winnie the Pooh movie. Then there's the high priority tier, where these films are important, just not as important as the top priorities. These films include Atlantis, Big Hero 6, Beauty and the Beast, The Black Cauldron, Brother Bear, Chicken Little, Cinderella, The Emperor's New Groove, Encanto, Fantasia and Fantasia 2000, Frozen 1 and 2, Home on the Range, Lilo and Stitch, The Lion King, Peter Pan, The Little Mermaid, Meet the Robinsons, Moana, Pinocchio, The Princess and the Frog, Snow White, Raya, Sleeping Beauty, The Sword and the Stone, and Tangled. Then this is the medium priorities. These do seem important, but so far I don't see what I can do with them. These include Bambi, Dumbo, Fun and Fancy Free, Make Mine Music, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Pocahontas, Tarzan, The Rescuers 1 and 2, Mulan, The Jungle Book, Lady and the Tramp, Melody Time, Saludos Amigos, Three Caballeros, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Wreck-It Ralph 1 and 2, Zootopia, Robin Hood, The Great Mouse Detective, Strange World, and Treasure Planet. Then there are the low priorities. These are the movies I really can't find any sort of potential with, no matter how hard I try. You can submit evidence if you like, but any form of evidence would be kind of shocking. These include 101 Dalmatians, The Fox and the Hound, The Aristocats, Dinosaur, Bolts, and Oliver and Company. Hopefully this helps, and this concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad to be getting back to theories. I'm not saying I'll be posting theories all the time or even too often. I'm also trying to offer to do other stuff too. I guess you could call me a variety channel. Also, while recording this, I'm going off script for a bit. I will say this. I don't know why I just have this massive headache, so there's like a lot of bloopers and stuff. I guess you can call it that. Just like parts where I screwed up the lines just because like my headache is just, is making my brain just not function. So there's a couple of times where you just see like an obvious like cut, like, oh, these two were obviously not the same recording or whatever. But no, that's the reason. I just have a weird headache. Anyways, I love you all so much and thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry to be repeating myself so much, but it's true. Have a lovely day, and until next time. Also, YouTube shoutout goes to Channel Awesome.